please help me welcome Miss Priti Makwabe, who's a social worker, who will be diving into the topic of stress, anxiety, and mental wellness.
My name is Priti Makwabe. I'm a social worker working for Department of Health. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity to be able to share some information on stress. Stress, we all at some stage happen to have stress, experience stress. Stress, we know it's how we react when we feel under pressure or threatened. I'm glad I'm speaking to mostly the students here. They understand better what is stress. As I said, that everybody at some stage we experience stress. The way we react and we feel under pressure, it threatens us and it makes us to feel stress. It usually happens when we are in a situation that we don't feel we can manage or control. When we feel like this situation is out of control, I cannot manage this, then the stress begins. As I said, that we all experience stress through our lives. There are stressors that are very common to everybody. Stressors like financial problems. We as students at UNISA, you might be having a financial problem. You might be thinking about, I wonder if my parents will be able to pay all the fees. I wonder if NSFAS will pay. That thing of thinking constantly about that, it stresses one. The uncertainty about future. We all undergo some stresses in life, like the death of a loved one, uncertain about future. Everybody's affected by that. Thinking about what is going to happen with my future? Will I make it in future? So we are stressed. We have that stress, those stressors that are common to everybody. And a small amount of stress can help us. It helps us to complete tasks and feel more energized and keep us alert. But stress can become a problem when it lasts for a long time or is very intensive. So there is a small amount of stress, like I need to study. I'm writing exams next week. You are alerted to be ready for the exams because you're looking at the goal. That's a small amount of stress. That is not dangerous. That is a small amount of stress that doesn't impact negatively to your mental health that much. It's a good one, because stress can also be good, stress can also be bad. When it is a small amount like that one, it's a good one. Where you set yourself just a short-term goal and you want to achieve this. This is for this day. This is for this week. I want to achieve it. It's a positive one. It's a short-term one, and it's not doing any damage in your brain, in your mental health. But when it becomes a problem when it lasts for a long time and it's intense, that's when it deals with your mental health. It disturbs your mental health when it disturbs your day-to-day activities, when you cannot do anything, when you start having the symptoms that, no, it's distracting me from being who I am. It's distracting me from doing my job as I have planned. Here at the university or in tertiary education, there are a lot of stressors, and most of the students, they are stressed. They undergo through this thing called stress. Going to university on its own, it's a significant life transition that brings with it a variety of challenges, such as adjusting to the first experience of independent life. You are now independent. I was at high school, and now I have to be independent. I'm away from my parents. I have to do things on my own. I have to make sure that I wake up on time. I have to make sure that I study. I have to make sure nobody's pushing me now. I'm independent. So that alone, it brings stress. It stresses one. The academic demand. Now I'm no longer at high school. Now I'm in tertiary. I have to make sure that I have different method of study. I have to be on my own. I'm in a new world. It's a whole new world. So now I have to make sure that I am disciplined. So it brings stress. And then the new environment, adjusting to the new environment, adjusting to the new friend, meeting new people, the issues of finance again, meeting new people, new lecturers, new environment, new accommodation. Maybe sometimes it's not what you expected. all these things that I've just mentioned, they are bringing stress in your mind because you are like, I cannot control this situation. You are like, I cannot manage this. There's mommy is not around. My friends are not around. They're gone to other tertiary institution. I'm on my own. I have to make sure that I am more disciplined. Otherwise, I'll lose it. My mental health will be affected. My mental health, meaning that the way I think will be affected psychologically, the way I feel will be affected that's emotionally, the way I behave, the way I do things, it will be affected if I don't get assistance. So my mental health will be affected in this situation. So it will be a problem to me reaching my goal as a student. Also, the fear of failing. I'm now here. I don't know if I will make it. What if I fail? Did I choose the right course? What if I fail? What did my parents say? What did my friends say? Will I get a job after qualifying? All this, it's a whole lot of things that are coming into your mind as a student, as somebody who have started a new life, that you have now to be in control of it. But discipline is number one that needs to be there in the life of a student. Then when it recurs and it's intense, it gets so intense, you cannot control it, you cannot do anything about it, you have to consult, because it can cause mental health problems like the anxiety. Anxiety is it also there's a thin line between it and stress. It can be done. It can happen because of the response to a perceived danger or threat. Like I said, there is a threat now that I've started this course. I don't know if I'm going to finish. I don't know if my parents will be able to pay all my fees. I don't know if I'll get a job. I don't know if, all those things, they cause anxiety. As the anxiety is it can be a reaction to stress. You are stressed, the condition, the circumstances are uncontrollable. You feel like I cannot control the situation, and then you are anxious about it. You feel so anxious that you don't know what to do. You feel like you're out of control of this whole situation, and it messes with you because you have to study. You are here to study. You have a goal, but now you are so stressed. I can't make it. You feel like you're a failure. You feel like it's not gonna work. You feel like, why did I have to do this? But you have to do it because you have started as a student. So you might end up, if it gets so intense and not attended to, you might get the mental health problems like the anxiety not becoming just an anxiety, because when it's just an anxiety, like everybody else can have anxiety, because it's a generalized feeling of worry, fear, or nervousness, which is an emotional response to a perceived danger, like I've just said. So if it's not dealt with, if it's not attended to, it might end up causing mental health problems like anxiety disorder, now becoming a disorder where you will need to be treated, where you will need to be assessed, where you will need to meet a psychiatrist, or firstly a psychiatry, a mental health nurse assessing you, and then you meet a psychiatry, and then you end up being diagnosed. That's why you get a diagnosis, and some people end up having depression and all those mental disorders, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. How do we cope in such an environment? You keep your daily routine. As a student, you have to be disciplined. Like I said, we have to be disciplined, have a daily routine, because this is going to disturb the way you do your things. You will feel like, I cannot control this. I cannot take this. This is too much. I cannot manage. But if you keep a daily routine, you have your own schedule and stick to it. Discipline yourself by sticking to your schedule. Get plenty of sleep. You need to sleep for your mind to work well, because stress, anxiety, and all these mental sicknesses, all those, they affect you physically and mentally. And having stress and anxiety doesn't mean that you are a mental health user. It doesn't mean that you are crazy. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. You are a human being just like any other people, but you just have to focus. You just have to plan your things. You just have to attend to the things as they come. Like I said, a small amount of stress it's okay. It's fine. It helps you to be alert. It actually says, wake up. It says, no, you can't sleep now. No, there's tests coming next week. There's exams. You have an assignment. You know, it's a good one. So if you don't get plenty of sleep, it will disturb you. Your plan is not going to work well. Your schedule is not going to work well. Your daily routine are not going to be in place. You have to get more exercise. You be active. Be active. Your body physically has to be active, because stress, anxiety, they affect you physically, they affect you mentally, they affect you psychologically, emotionally. You are affected. So you have to be to get more exercise, to be active. And you have to connect with other people. Don't isolate. Don't isolate. Isolation is very bad. Isolation is because you're sitting in your corner, you're dying there alone. You don't speak to anyone. You're in this environment. You are in this environment. You don't know anyone. You are a stranger here. You're sitting in your corner. You are nursing your stress there. You're making it worse, because it's going to be more and get intense and deal with you in a way that you'll be unable to control. You eat healthy. Eat healthy. Don't just grab anything because I'm a student, I'm rushing, I have a class to attend, I'm late, I woke up late. You have to eat healthy. Like I said, you exercise, you get plenty of sleep, you eat healthy, you connect with other people. You don't isolate yourself. You will definitely need other people. Maybe if you used to be alone, studying alone, now you are in tertiary. You have to get to those study groups so that you will get somebody who will notice that something is not okay with Lerato. Then they can see if you need to be assisted, and then they can maybe be able to see that Lerato is going through some stress. She is stressed. Take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself, because this can end up being a disorder. Because when it starts small, when you go to like I'm from Department of Health, when you come to us, you get to those, the nurse from mental health that is going to assess you, involve the social worker, the psychologist will be involved, then the psychiatrist, the one that is going to diagnose you and give you a diagnosis and then prescribe medication. When it's a stress that is not intense, you will be given antidepressants for stress that is not intense and just a normal anxiety that happens to everybody. But if it's left unattended, you might end up having a disorder, which is a prolonged one. Now the stress is prolonged, the anxiety is prolonged, where you get a lot of anxieties, generalized anxiety disorders, you get post-traumatic stress disorders, you get separation anxieties, because it has been left unattended. It has been left just like that, as if, no, I'm okay, I think I'm fine, I don't need, because when you isolate yourself, you don't get a chance, you are not exposed to other people that they can see you, that so-and-so needs to be assisted at an early stage. Okay, so I just want to quote some of the things that I've learned at UNISA. I'm a UNISA product. I learned about Carl Rogers, one of the theories. A PCA theory, person-centered approach. Carl Rogers said all individuals exist in a continually changing world of experience, of which they are the center. They are the center. We have our own, we're existing in a continually changing world of our own experiences as individuals. And those are the experiences that sometimes they cause this stress. And he also says that there is a proposition two. He says the individual or organism reacts to the field as it is experienced and perceived. And this perceptual feeling is reality for the individual. So the individual feels that I'm okay here. I'm right here. This is how I feel. This is how I want to do things. This is how my life should be run. Therefore, we should be able to reach out to other people that we think they can assist us with an unconditional positive regard. That is, he was conveying the message that you will be accepted unconditionally. This is the situation that is happening to you. This is the it is your reality. This is how you feel. This is how you think things should happen. And then now you need somebody who is going to accept you unconditionally, somebody who's not going to judge you, somebody who's not going to disapprove you or even approve you, allow you to express what is happening inside you so that you can be assisted. Hence, people have to consult. That allows one to freely express your feelings, and it directs your self-exploration as you see it. It allows you to express how you feel, and in that way you can be assisted. And it says also, in some instances, behavior may be brought about by organic experiences and needs which have not been symbolized. There might be things that have happened in the life of an individual when the up and those things were not attended to. But when now the time comes that you are independent, you have to be on your own, everything now comes back. It comes back. So the small amount of stress help us to self-actualize. It helps us to reach our goals. So there is a proposition 16 that I like that says, that's from Carl Rogers, also from PCA. He says, any experience which is inconsistent with the organization of the structure of the self may be perceived as a threat. This is where stress comes in. This is the situation, this is the experience that I'm experiencing, and it is inconsistent with who I think I am. It is inconsistent with me. So now, if I get the assistance, it helps me because it will help me to actualize, to reach, he actually says, and the more of these perceptions there are, the more rigidly the self-structure is organized to maintain itself. This situation that is inconsistent with me, it is not what I want, it is not what I think I can do, but because I don't sit down, I take a step, it will help me to self-actualize. It will help me to become who I am, but only if I seek assistance, only if I seek help. In conclusion, before I waste any time, I'm also quoting Carl Rogers because, as I said, I was a student at UNISA. We use PCA. I'm also quoting Carl Rogers. He postulated that a state of incongruency might exist within the client, meaning there is a discrepancy when the client's self-image, between the client's self-image and the reality of their experience. This is what causes stress. This is what causes anxiety. This is what makes people to think, I won't make it, I can't make it, I think I'm stupid, I think I'm dumb, I think, no, something is not okay with me. This incongruence, it leads to a feeling of vulnerability. It leads to a feeling of anxiety. This is not me failing. This is not me struggling. This is not me not having, I know myself, I'm a fighter, I'm a go-getter. Why now? You need to get help if it gets to that point that it's intense. You need to be assisted. You don't need to sit in your corner. A small amount of stress, it's a good one because it helps you. It tells you that wake up. It tells you that you can do it, girl. You can go, girl, you can do it, you can make it. Then you get help immediately, and it doesn't get intense. It is not prolonged. You don't have to go for mental health. You don't have to go to mental health clinic and be diagnosed with mental health disorders. It is a stress that is normal, the one that anyone can help. I think for now I can end there, unless if there's any question, because I don't want to waste time. Thank you so much.
Very informative, to be honest with you. A bit scary to some of us. Yes, because we tend to normalize anxiety. I'll be honest with you. We tend to normalize it. Into that's supposed to be there. It's part of life. I know with me, I have this tendency of biting my nails so much that sometimes I end up biting the flesh. Because one can say, because I feel anxious towards an activity that I'm supposed to do, maybe, or maybe, like you said earlier, financial difficulties do give you stress. Most of it, yes, raising kids, you always have that worry as to, I hope that my kids come back safely, especially, living in the township, there's always protests and stuff, so there's always stress. Most of it, is not even caused by you, but we have to live through it. Thank you for that. Let us continue. We have Miss Lebogang Mokoena from SADAG, who'll be dealing with coping strategies and available resources to help deal with stress.
Thank you so much for having us here today. Like I was introduced, my name is Lebohang Mokoena. I am from the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. So today I will be focusing on coping strategies and resources to help deal with stress. So to start us off, just to maybe give you guys a bit of background in terms of who SADAG is. So SADAG was founded in 1994 to help patients with depressive and anxiety disorders. So as SADAG, we do offer telephonic counseling and referrals nationwide. So currently we are the only suicide crisis helpline in the country. And we have over 30 toll-free helplines that deal with the depression, trauma, anxiety, panic, suicide, substance abuse, etc. There are 24-hour helplines that we have that run 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In terms of online counseling support, we do have online contact form, which is on our website, as well as a live chat. And we also have a WhatsApp counseling line that runs from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I will share all the details a bit later. We have over 160 plus support groups which run nationwide. Support groups in terms of depression and anxiety. With what was shared previously, we also do have support groups for those who are experiencing difficulties with their mental health, as well as with chronic illnesses. So I think it's a great platform, to chat with other people that are experiencing similar situations, as a way to get some sort of support. So we also do have brochures and pamphlets. We do community projects. We do corporate talks. We also do university wellness days and peer support group projects. So I think it's very important for us to kind of, know in more detail what mental health is, as well as what mental illness is. So in terms of mental health, it is your general state of mind and well-being. So it is something that should be looked after, and it is just as important as your physical health, okay? With mental illness, it is something that disrupts your mental state. So it's a whole body illness that does affect the way you think, behave, act, and feel. So today, because we are talking a little bit more about stress, I think it's very important for us to unpack what stress is. So stress equals perceived demands which are greater than coping resources. So anything that upsets the body's neutral balance can be defined as stress. So there are forces that come from the outside world that do affect us all as individuals. So it is unfortunate that, stress is a part of our lives. And as such, we need to know what causes us to stress and what the other symptoms are for that. So a good question is, is all stress bad? So stress is not always bad. Stress sometimes can be exciting and challenging, when you are perhaps having to complete an assignment or when you have something else to do, and it can be very stressful. At times it can be obviously challenging, to get through that, but others find it quite exciting, to experience stress. Stress can help us keep on our toes and to perform at our peak. So those who, tend to submit their assignments late at times, it obviously keeps you on your toes, where you have to make sure that you do submit everything on time. But then again, we have to obviously note that too much stress can have a negative impact on our bodies, minds, and feelings. So what are some of the common sources of stress? So in terms of relationships, you'll find that you probably have a difficulty communicating with your partner. Sometimes there are unrealistic expectations that you have, live happily ever after. In your relationship, maybe there's a lack of support or there's that level of loneliness. And also there is that pressure in terms of, economic pressure that you experience in relationships. In terms of extreme demands, things like time pressure, frustrating situations, demanding environment, lack of stimulation, and lack of balance. Change as well is one of them. Illness as well, I think with what was shared, previously, that can be a common source of stress. Also, a death of a loved one. We tend to have a difficulty having to, adjust to not having a loved one around anymore. Unemployment as well. I think we can all agree, with the unemployment rate that is so high in South Africa, a lot of people are not coping. And it definitely is a common source of stress. Changing jobs as well as moving. So I think as students, you can all agree that there was a point where you had to move from high school to university, or from high school to working, or from university to working. And that movement on its own, there is that level of fear, the fear of the unknown and not knowing what to expect. So it can also be seen as a common source of stress. So what are some of the symptoms of stress? So in terms of emotional and behavioral symptoms, we have things like nervousness, feeling anxious. So changes in eating habits. So sometimes you overeat, or there is that lack of appetite. There's a lack of energy. Your mood swings are all over the place. You're irritated easily. You snap as well. Feeling sad, feeling tired, a lack of concentration and distraction. I think we can all agree when you are feeling stressed, sometimes it's very difficult to focus on one thing and not be distracted. A lack of performance as well, and negative thinking and pessimistic. And in terms of physical symptoms, you see things like sleep disturbances, muscle tension as well, headache and migraines, neck and backache, stomach problems and digestive disturbances, as well as fatigue or insomnia. So I'd like for you guys, if you can, just in the chat box, I know that it is quite busy with all the questions for Ms. Pretty, but if you can, in the chat box, could you kindly please maybe share, what are some of the things that you feel, or, physically, when it comes to the symptoms of, stress? So when you're feeling stressed, what do you tend to feel? So for me personally, my back tends to hurt a lot when I'm feeling stressed. So I think it will be great for us to maybe share. So I do have a colleague of mine, Devashni, who is in the back. So she will answer those or engage with you in the chat box as well. Okay. So what are some of the triggers that we have? So family relationships can be one. Divorce or separation, I think having to also, adjust to that can be very difficult. Economic stress in the family, poorly performing at school. Sometimes it can be very difficult to deal with that for yourself, and not meeting expectations. Not feeling like you fit in. Sometimes when you're in university, and sometimes you just feel like you don't fit in with people, and you don't fit in with students around you. And also substance abuse. So it can actually be a huge trigger when it comes to stress. So I think it's very important for us to distinguish, stress versus burnout. This is the most important thing, like I mentioned in the previous slides, in terms of too much stress obviously can have a huge impact on you, and it can lead to burnout. So when we look at stress, you put in too much effort, but whereas with burnout, it's so hard to put in any effort at all. With stress, you feel emotions more strongly, whereas with burnout, your emotions feel blunted. Okay. You feel hyperactive and anxious, whereas with burnout, you feel so drained and you feel so helpless. With stress, you have less energy, whereas with burnout, you have less motivation. And lastly, it does obviously take a physical toll, whereas with burnout, it takes more of an emotional toll. Factors that increase the risk of mental illness, specifically within a university setting. So like I mentioned, finances, living arrangements as well, relationships, be it with your partner or friends or family. Responsibility can be a huge one. Like I mentioned, if you are the sole breadwinner, or even if you're the only one that your family is depending on, to say that Lebohang's going to university, she's going to get her degree, and after that, she's going to take care of, the family, which leads to also academic pressure. So now you're pressured to make sure that you perform as best as you can. Transition to university, like I mentioned, it could be one of them as well. And also adapting to learning. Sometimes it can, have an increase within the risk of mental illness. So I'd like for us to maybe look at mental health on a spectrum. Okay, so green is healthy, yellow is responding or reacting, orange is injured / struggling, and red is crisis. So when we look at healthy, we have normal mood fluctuations. Okay, so we're performing very well. We are in control mentally. Physically, we're doing very well. We have few difficulties when it comes to sleeping. Physically and socially, we are very active. We don't necessarily use substances as a way to cope. And there is no or limited gambling that is involved. So that is with healthy. So when we move over to the yellow column, we have responding or reacting. So you feel very irritable or impatient. There's a level of nervousness, sadness or feeling overwhelmed, forgetfulness, trouble with sleeping, intrusive thoughts, a low energy, muscle tension and headaches. So this was one of those that we experienced physically. Decreased activity or even socializing. So isolation is one here. And regular but controlled substance use or gambling as a way to help. Okay. So now we move on to orange. Okay. So orange is injured / struggling. So there is a level of a negative attitude that you have. There's a level of anxiousness. There's a poor performance as well as a poor concentration level. You feel restless. There is, disturbances when it comes to your sleeping patterns. There is a recurrent images or nightmares that you experience at times. There's an increase, with headaches or body aches and pains. And there's also an increase in fatigue, so feeling tired. And also avoidance and withdrawal. I'm trying to not really do what it is that you need to do, and you're just constantly pushing it away all the time. And with this one, there is an increase when it comes to substance use. And with gambling, it can be also very difficult to control. Now we get to the danger zone, which is crisis, which is red. So with this one, anger outbursts constantly and aggression, excessive anxiety and panic attacks all the time. You do have ideas around suicide. You cannot perform your duties the way that you would. You cannot control your behavior or even concentrate. You have difficulties with falling asleep or even staying asleep. There are times where you're either sleeping too much or too little. So this was part of the symptoms that we discussed in terms of stress. There is a constant fatigue that you have, so feeling tired. At this point, you're not going out at all. And when it comes to substance and gambling addiction, there is an increase in that. And also other addictions, so be it pornography or masturbation. So there are other addictions also that contribute. So this is a mental health spectrum. So I think, we can see that green is very healthy, whereas with red, there's a crisis. And then in between, with yellow, it moves in between, healthy and a bit of injured. So how to identify the warning signs? So talk, how someone talks, the writing or drawing or posting online about death or dying or hurting themselves, saying things like, I wish I wasn't here anymore, or everyone would be better off if I was dead. So the way in which someone speaks, can be a warning sign. In terms of behavior, there's a level of withdrawing, drastic change in eating or sleeping habits. There's no energy at all. You're constantly feeling agitated. So saying goodbye or giving away prized possessions, to people. So how you behave can also be a way to identify warning signs. In terms of mood, so it's a loss of interest, isolating from family and friends. There's that level of rage as well, and also irritability. And in terms of mood as well, we can see symptoms of depression or anxiety. So I think it's very important for everyone to please remember that even if you see one warning sign, do not wait, do not leave it, rather talk, listen, and connect, to help anyone that a loved one, a friend, classmate, or, those around you. So follow these steps, so if you are a bit concerned about a loved one or a colleague or a student, ask questions, ask to say, I am really worried about you. Are you okay? Lately, you've been isolating a lot. You haven't been, completing your daily tasks, with your assignments. I feel like maybe you are submitting a bit too late. Asking these questions can be helpful. It will give, that level of platform for the person to talk about that, and to share with you. And obviously, when you ask these questions, be prepared to listen. More than anything, it's very important to listen. I think this was, discussed earlier, to say that sometimes you don't need someone to give you solutions. You just need someone to listen, to hear you out and to kind of hear where you are coming from and what you're experiencing. And lastly, connect, find ways to connect with them as a way to help them get the assistance that they need. So I want us to all maybe just do a mental health check-in quickly. So please do rate yourself from 1 to 10. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? How am I feeling at this point in time? Have I eaten? When last did I walk around or stretch? Have I actually gone outside today? It is almost midday. And ask yourself those questions, Do a body check, physical check-in, are you feeling a bit tense? Are you experiencing a bit of a headache? Are you feeling stiff? How is your heart rate right now? And when it comes to your breathing, are you breathing slowly? Is it too fast? And once you've done that, I want you to take a nice, long, deep breath. And I want you to ask yourself, what is taking up most of my headspace right now? I think it would be great for you to just take note of that for yourself, to say, what exactly is it that's taking up most of my headspace right now? So how to build resilience in your team. So I think as university students, it can be helpful to do mental health check-ins every now and then, build a support system for yourselves. It doesn't have to be with the support system for yourself. Share helpful resources. So if you know of someone, that you go to school with and you feel like maybe they are struggling or they need assistance, share those resources with them. Sometimes whatever it is that you use for yourself, you might not be aware that it could be helpful to somebody else. Share inspirational quotes, songs, or pictures, as a way to start the week or the day. So share the hope. So if you guys are in, WhatsApp group chats, for example, share an inspirational quote, share a quote, that is helpful, that can, kind of motivate people. And I think of most importance, we need to share the hope. TED Talks as well, podcasts as well. I think of most importance is leading by example. Like I mentioned, something that works for you could potentially work for somebody else. I'm not saying it will, but it could. So share your coping tools, with those in your team, as a way to maybe help them as well to manage with what they're going through. So what are some of the practical tips that we can try out? So I think it's very important to differentiate between the two. So promote positive coping styles. So self-care tips, distraction techniques, relaxation skills, sensory coping skills, as well as emotion coping skills. Negate from negative coping styles. So enabling bad habits or lifestyle. Comfort eating can be a very negative coping mechanism that you'll use, as much as it is something that's very soothing at that moment in time, but also be mindful of how much you're doing it, how much you're comfort eating, and what it is that you're actually eating. Sleeping too much as well. Overindulging in legal substances and using illegal substances as a way to cope. So a lot of times people will, say that they are using substances as a way to help them cope, with things that happen in life, with the stress, with, expectations, with finances, so sometimes it can be a negative coping mechanism. So what are some of these self-care tips that we can try out? As cliche as they sound, I think it's very important to, be honest with yourself. Eat healthy foods if you can, get enough sleep. I think sometimes we tend to look down on the amount of sleep that we get. A week before an assignment is due, now you're cutting down your sleeping to 3 hours a day, which is not healthy because at the end of the day, you will crash. Exercise regularly. So I'm not saying you should go to the gym, and pick up weights, but go outside, take a walk, take some time out. If you feel like maybe being in the gym will be helpful, do that. But I think just a bit of movement, will be helpful. Practice good hygiene. So waking up in the morning, make your bed, open your windows, brush your teeth, the bath, I think just basic good hygiene, can be a way to take good care of yourself. Increase your self-esteem. So, there are apps that we have nowadays on Play Store that you can download, so those that help with, affirmations. So every day you start your day and it will send you a notification, randomly during the day, it will send you a notification to say, you are doing great, you look good, you're doing good, you're feeling good, it's just that level of, helping to increase your self-esteem, in a way. So it could be something that you can look out for. Of importance, take some time out. I think as much as, yes, sometimes it can be helpful to do everything all at once to get it out of the way. But the minute you notice that you are not coping at all, taking some time out can be very helpful. And do some positive self-talk. So when you get ready for class, or, when you get ready to go out, look yourself in the mirror and, kind of compliment yourself and say, today I really look good. I look good, I feel good, and I'm definitely going to do good. So I think sometimes some sort of self-talk can be very helpful. And lastly, create an effective balance, between work and your personal life, or between school and your personal life, or between school, work, and your personal life. I think sometimes it can be very helpful, to create that balance, to say, today, what is it that I am focusing on? What is it that I feel like I need to balance out? When was the last time I reached out to loved ones, for example? When was the last time I caught up with my schoolwork? So there has to be a balance between work, your personal life, or school as well. So how can SADAG then help in an emergency? So we do assist with crisis intervention. We do talk to the student directly. We do provide assistance as well as guidance, in relation to what you're experiencing. And from our side, we do provide referrals, be it to doctors, to the hospital, or for counseling. And we do also provide case management from our end. So what is available? So we do have a 24-hour helpline, so Higher Health helpline, which is 0800 36 36 36. And we do have a Higher Health SMS line, which is 43336. We also do have a WhatsApp counseling line so this is for those who aren't really comfortable, with talking with someone over the phone. You are more than welcome to reach out to us on WhatsApp, which is 087 163 2030, and that operates from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week. Okay, so if you would like to reach out, please make use of this. If you can just take note of the numbers and the trading hours as well. We do offer free telephonic counseling for all mental health related issues. So like I mentioned in the first slide, be it depression, be it anxiety, be it stress, anything it is that you feel like, is contributing to your mental health, please feel free to reach out so that we can assist you with that. So like I mentioned, we do crisis interventions as well. We also do follow-up calls and case management. So, if a student does call in and it is quite an intense, conversation that we have with them, we ask, of course, with their permission, if they would like for us to follow up with them, to check in with them, to see how are they doing, have they followed up, with the referrals that we provided them. So we do provide nationwide referrals and resources that, students can make use of. We do also have information, handouts, and brochures. So this is available on our website, which is www.sadag.org. I will share that in the last slide. So if you do feel like you would like to be anonymous, you're more than welcome to be. However, just please do be mindful that whatever it is that you discuss with us over the phone as a student, it will strictly be confidential. Before we wrap up, I think it's very important, to remind yourself that it is okay to not be okay, okay? Start a conversation, so how are you really doing today? I think at times, when you meet with someone, on your way to school or on your way to a store or whatever, and you bump into someone, you say, hi, Lebo, how are you doing today? I'm good, thank you. And you walk away. Obviously, the setting is a bit different, but sometimes you need to sit down with someone and say, actually, how are you really doing today? How are you really feeling today? I think when you phrase it differently, it will get someone to think, you know, to say, actually, how am I today? How am I actually feeling? Share resources, like I mentioned. Share self-help tips that you've used for yourself. So I think maybe let's use this, you know, in the chat box. What are some of the self-help tips that you've used for yourself as a way to help you manage your stress? You know, who knows? Maybe what you share could be something that someone has always needed for themselves. Encourage people to get help and support. And like I mentioned, connect as best as you can. Speak to someone, build a support system for yourself, get professional help, be it free counseling, you know, as a way for you to get that level of support as well as guidance, you know, to say, okay, this is what you're going through. What is it that we can actually do about this? Support groups are the best, you know, that you can try out for yourself. If you feel like a one-on-one session with a counselor is not really something that is ideal for you, maybe meeting with other people that are experiencing a similar challenge can be helpful for you. I'm not saying that it's obviously going to overtake therapy. However, within a group, support group setting, it's more of sharing what you're going through personally and hearing from other people what they are going through. And I think it's a great platform for everyone to share their experiences, to share their emotions as well as their feelings. Go to your local hospitals and clinics, you know, reach out to NGOs as well as churches. Of most importance, lead by example. You know, there is a quote that says you cannot pour from an empty cup. You do need to look after yourself in order for you to help, you know, others out there. Invest in your mental health, you know, as much as, you know, physical health is of importance, but so is mental health. It's very important for you to invest in that and encourage your colleagues, your cohort, team members, friends, family to look after their mental health too and learn more. I think the more you learn, it will kind of provide everyone with an opportunity to share that, you know, share whatever it is that you've learned about, you know, stress, for example, share with other people so that they also know what stress is. So I am going to wrap up shortly, but I just want us to do a mindful minute. So if I could ask for everyone to please close your eyes and take 1 minute. Okay. So I want us to breathe, take deep breaths, be it through your nose, and you're going to hold it. Let's do it one more time. So take in a deep breath through your nose. Hold for 4 seconds. And breathe out slowly through your mouth for 4 seconds. Now I want us to focus on listening. So listen to the sounds around you. Can you name at least 5 different sounds? Is it the machine in the background? Is it your laptop? Is it people outside? What is it that you can hear? What is it that you can see? So look around you. Describe an object around you. What shape is it? What size is it? What texture is it? Is it soft? Is it hard? I think, you know, just kind of describing the object that is around you. And touch. So use your fingertips to touch something near you. What words would you use to describe it? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it a bit rough? Use your fingertips as a way to touch something near you. So I think of importance when you're having a very hectic day, please make use of this. Just a minute of your time, mindful minute is what we call it. Close your eyes and just take a minute, you know, breathe, listen, see, and touch. I think this is something that can just help you kind of get back to reality, you know, kind of calm you down for things to slow down a bit for you. And then once you're done with that, then you can go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what is it that I need to do right now? It will help kind of clear your headspace and also help you find ways to deal with what you're going through. So these are our social media handles. So on Facebook, we are at the SADAG. On Twitter, it is also at the SADAG. On Instagram, it is at _official. And our website is www.sadag.org. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. I really do appreciate it. If you do have any questions regarding the presentation, please feel free to ask those questions in the chat box, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Mokoena. That was a lovely presentation. It's very informative. Someone actually called it a powerful presentation, because yes, there it was. It was. Thank you for sharing all the tips and all the information that is needed by our students. You know, we have a tendency of taking these matters lightly because we have normalized stress and depression and anxiety, of which is completely wrong, you know. But thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.